Let's get to the bottom of this one. Unspoken truths that I miss one. Tap into the minds of the people, rather acknowledge before I dismiss one. Atheists, Muslim, Christians, Buddhists, they all got usage. All got perspective, it's a collective. Get to the bottom where the truth is, where the heart's uncovered. Where you detox from all of the lies you smothered. Where them tries could have killed you, but with faith you recover. Yup. Peel off the makeup, we finna take off. Never said it'd be a cakewalk. Meditate till we charged up. Execute goes regardless. Decalcify my pineal. Breaking language barriers, we saw millennials. Planets passing age rotations, down mean we owe. So down mean we know. Sometimes we can be slow, that's why my ears open. Every drop you add could complete the ocean. Speak up, play your part too. Been vulnerable, it's so hard to.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kimberly with Unseen Twisted Truths. We are the People's Podcast. We got my co-host Henry and the co-host DDH, and then we got Melissa. Now, Melissa, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Okay.
So, you didn't have a chance to set up your stuff. I tried to get you to come on early, but you didn't have a chance to set up your stuff. So, what I need you to do is go on my page and share it to your page so your people can see it.
Give me 1 second. Let me do that.
I was trying to
I'ma do
get
that
you
too.
hours. I was trying to get you video hours though, because if you would have logged in, you would have been able to get these video hours for monetization.
Unseen Twisted Truths.
I'm gonna add my highlights and I'm gonna add everybody else. So, how is everybody doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty damn good.
That's wonderful. Melissa, how you doing?
Technologically difficult.
I think she's froze.
Oh, we gonna get it. It's all right. We're gonna get it. We got a hell of a show.
Melissa.
Hey, there you go.
Melissa, you froze. Anyways, tonight's gonna be a dope story though. I can't wait for her to tell her story.
Yes. Yes.
She might have to log out and then come back.
We always got the technological problems on the.
It's
when we
crazy.
least need it.
I know, and I try to get everything set up early so that we don't do this. One thing I know you can't do is control people. You cannot.
Listen,
Hopefully she comes back.
You don't be coming back here. I'm setting my shit up here. We getting live. We getting live. Live and rowdy. How are you, Kimberly?
I am fine, but tonight is the show is talking about Melissa went through some things.
Yes, she did.
She was really bad addict and addicted to drugs, substance. I can't say certain things. She was really bad addict and addicted to substance. And she was clean for like a year and was extremely hungry and went to Hardee's to get something to eat. And I would love her to come back to tell her story.
I thought you were going to say her life changed forever.
Her life did change forever.
Now, as a professional alcoholic of 19, maybe plus years, I always considered myself an addict. So we're all addicted to something. I do hope she comes back here. I know she's been really excited for this, and thank you, viewers, for your patience and tuning in.
She's here now.
Okay, there it is.
That's all right. So tell everybody what happened to you before we start losing people.
I was charged with attempted murder on 2 law enforcement officers back in 2009.
My goodness.
What did you do? What? Tell me about your day, though. Tell me about what that day consist of before that happened.
Okay, so I had spent the night at one of my girlfriend's houses, and we got up that morning. I had been completely clean off drugs for a while. She wasn't, but I was. She wanted to go get dope, and I wanted to go get food. And so I was like, well, hell, you're not a bad person just because you do it and I don't anymore. So I'll just ride with you. I'll go get my food and then we'll come back home. No harm in that. So she got ready and I got ready and we went out to town. And as we pulled into the Hardee's, I told her I wasn't going over there with her. And she got out of the car and went to the motel. I was on my way to Hardee's. When she came back, I seen some officers standing outside, which was very unusual. Why would they be at a motel like that? And so I thought something weird, and I said, you didn't buy nothing, did you? She said, no. She said, I had a funny feeling. And I said, well, it's a good thing. So I get in the car, and she gets back in the car. Well, she wanted that dope so bad. She's like, you know what? She said, I'm going to call in a room and have the girl bring it out. She said, because they can't get me if they come outside. This thing's inside. And I'm thinking to myself, you're dumb. I'm getting out of this car. You're ignorant. Well, it was a two-door car, and she had already called the guy before I knew it. And as I was opening my food to eat it in the back seat, this guy comes out of the motel and up to the window, and he hands her 2 pills. And I'm just at this point shaking my head like, oh my God, So the girl that was driving, we're pulled in to the curb. She backs out to leave, and when she does, we had about 50 of them surround us, and 2 plainclothes officers. One she hit from the get-go. He flew up on the windshield, busted the windshield, flew about 80 feet. And then the other guy, ran out in front of the car and put his hand out like, stop, and she gassed it and ran him over too. So at this point, there's cops coming from everywhere, like everywhere. They had to send one, and this is the way they stopped us. The one cop rammed the front of her car, like rammed it with his cop car. When they did that, them doors swung open. They pulled the 2 girls out of the front. They grabbed me up by my shirt, threw me down, put an assault rifle to my head. And from that point on, we didn't know we were going to be charged with attempted murder. I figured it would be unlawful wounding or assault on a police officer or something like that. You know what I mean? So they really didn't know what they were going to charge us with other than the dope charges till we got downtown. When we got downtown, they put us in a holding cell. But this time it was all over the news. Everybody done seen it. You get to call somebody. So I called my dad. I didn't know it was on the news at this time. So I called my dad, and I'm like, hey, Dad, you'll never believe what just happened. And he said, oh, yeah, I would. I'm watching it on TV. And that's when they brought the 2 green papers in there, which, I don't know if everybody's familiar with the court system, but your green papers are felonies. And when that officer came in there and told me what they were charging me with, I like to die. And I was in the back seat of the car, and they all knew it.
How was your life before that moment, though? How was things before then?
I had a pretty good life. I was adopted by some people when I was 10 months old, so I lived a good life, had anything I wanted. Smoked my first joint at 13, and that kind of started a spiral, Smoked my first joint at 15 or 13. I shot my first dope at 15. I got pregnant with my daughter, had her right before I turned 18. The first time I went to prison, I was 18 for taking the blame for her baby for my baby dad, for her dad. I took the blame on 32 felonies for him at 18. So I was in prison at the age of 18. So it was a spiral until, all this attempted murder. Once that happened, it was time to straighten up. I had to change something,
So they looked at you, and they looked at your past, and they looked at your case, and they just assumed that you were a junkie, and they're going to give you life.
Yep.
So what happened? Okay, so let's go back forward now. Let's go back to the night, though. Okay, so now you're in the cell, and they're telling you they're going to charge you with attempted murder. What happened?
Uh, I thought to myself, and me and my dad both, there's no way they can do that. Both of us were just kind of freaked out. I mean, I hit my knees in that cell floor and started crying to the Lord. You just can't be happening, Everybody knows I didn't have any control over that car. You know what I mean? So I hit my knees, and it was like I couldn't believe it. So the cops that she ran over, but I mean I was in the car, but the girl that was driving, her sister was a jailer at the jail we were fixing. Because we went to the holding cell, then we go to county for Virginia. So her sister was an actual guard at the jail, and then one of the guys that we hit, his brother's wife was a jailer there too. So when we went to jail, we stayed for 2 years before the trial. It was very hard. Her sister was a jailer. Of course, she's already mad at us. They're calling us cop killers. And, I mean, the guards made it really hard on all of us. But when we got there, I went straight to maximum security, classified 23-hour lockdown, only out 1 hour a day, to shower, to, watch TV, make phone calls, whatever you needed to do. Then we went for a motions hearing to try to, at first they had us held on no bond. The driver kept being held on no bond. They said we were flight risk because of our charges, but they set our bonds so high that there was no way possible that anybody could have went that unless you were a Hollywood star or something. My bond was set at $1.5 million.
So was she in jail with you, and were you able to communicate with her throughout them 2 years?
Excuse me?
Was she in jail with you, and you were able to communicate with her throughout them 2 years?
No, we were co-defendants, so they had us all in different tanks. The girl that was driving, her sister was a guard. She ended up going to the federal holding facility in Abington, Virginia. She wasn't allowed to be housed at our jail until the trial came. Once it was trial time, they brought her from the federal holding facility, and they put her in a holding cell out in the Sallyport. So no, we never were. From the moment we got arrested, we couldn't collaborate because we were co-defendants.
Now, what were they trying to? What was the plea deal they were trying to give you?
They were trying to give us attempted manslaughter and 10 years in prison, with 3 of that suspended, and I wouldn't do it. The driver ended up taking a plea, but I couldn't do it. My soul would not let me do it. So I went and I fought.
So how old were you then when this happened? About 31? But after, not the time it happened, because you were only 29 then, but like after, when you finally went to trial.
Yeah, I was 31.
And how old were your kid? You had 1 kid, right?
No, I had 3.
3. How old were your kids?
So my oldest daughter, let's see, she was 20, I think. No, she was younger than that. She was about 14. My middle child was 13, and my son was about 11 or 12. So they were ranging from 11 to 14.
Okay.
That must have been hard. That must have been really hard on
them. Yeah. My dad used to bring my daughter to see me, and I would just cry. So finally, I made him quit bringing them because it was too hard. I told him we would communicate over the phone. It was real hard knowing that. I'm not going to say I was innocent of everything, because I probably, my mom always told me, watch who you get in a car with. And I didn't listen. And so I got in the girl driving. I didn't know her. The only girl I knew was the girl that I'd stayed the night with. Me and her had been friends forever. And the girl driving, actually, her occupation was she drove for an ambulance company. So it's like, what was she thinking?
And she
She
has
didn't
some
want.
kind of base knowledge of how what could transpire with all this stuff going on. But addiction is powerful, isn't it? It's
Was she
Yeah.
on? Was she on medicine or not medicine, but substance too? The driver.
She was on Oxycontins, both of them. All three of us were addicted at one time. My dad had brought a needle to me one day, and my dad was a well-respected guy. He owned a gun shop, and so I used to shoot dope, and I would hide my needles in his bullets, boxes of bullets, like way back in the shelf. Because like, if you're going to buy something, you're normally going to get it from the first rack of stuff. Well, for some reason that day, he went and got into those bullets, and I couldn't deny it anymore, you know. So I hit my knees and told Dad I need help, and that's when he decided he was going. That was a Sunday. I'll never forget it. The very next Monday, I was in a Suboxone clinic before my head could spin.
So were you able to share this live to your page right now so that your audience can see it?
I
Huh?
think so. I think I did share it,
Okay.
but if I back out,
Yeah, no,
it's
you don't
gonna.
have to back out. I was just making sure. Um, so I don't want to. I want to keep a little bit of like a little bit of a suspense on what ended up happening. So I want to talk about what happened to you before when you were addicted. What you said that you've been drugged by a truck and hit by a car.
Yeah, so this I was actually clean when that happened. This happened like 2 years ago. Um, so I'd got off the metro bus and I was going across the crosswalk actually to go to the store. And I mean, the only thing I remember is going to the crosswalk. I don't remember being hit by the truck. I don't remember being ran over by the car. And this is 2 years later. I still don't remember. I woke up with 12 doctors over me just looking up, and I'm thinking to myself, what in the world? You know what I mean? Like, what in the world? And the doctor says, you know why you're here? No. And they was stitching me up and had tubes and stuff all over me. And so I was like, no. And she said, well, you were in the crosswalk and a truck hit you. And then the car behind it, or not directly behind it, because of course it knocked me so many feet. But she said, and then the car ran over you. And I had tire marks from my butt to my knees, you know, from the thing. But that's why I wear my hair. If you see me, I wear my hair over my head. I have a big ugly scar here that I just don't like being seen. I have big places in my head from where I split it open pretty bad. I had to have about 30 stitches.
So what happened to you then? Did you sue them? Did you get a lawsuit? What happened?
Well, I couldn't because neither one of them stopped. Um, they tried to watch the cameras from the store, and all they got was a description of the vehicles. The way the actual surveillance cameras were, they couldn't see the license plate, or they could have got the license plate and they could have got them. So no, nothing's ever been done about that part. But I'm blessed to be here. Blessed to be here in more ways than one. Not only for my trouble back in 2009, but you know, the truck and the car hit me. Like, God, it's really been with me.
So you said you wanted to be a voice for people that can't speak. How do you think that your story is going to make a difference on people? Not just the fight for your life and and stand on what you believe, but
Um,
also like the trauma of being hit and nothing happening. Like you probably were like, what am I doing wrong? Why me? Why does this everything keep happening to me? I've been doing so well. I'm sure you beat yourself up over it.
I did. I really did. But you know what? Just because you get off substances, you know, people say you've got to change your people, places, and things. I used to think just because I was off drugs, I could hang out with the people that still done them and somehow make it, which I never got back into the drugs. But when you do things like that, trouble follows you. You know, you
Yeah.
literally you have to change your atmosphere. You have to change your thoughts. You have to change everything about you. Like, you have to become a new person. Because if you don't become a new person, that old person is still lingering inside of you. And you're going to make decisions that you shouldn't make thinking it's okay, or thinking that, no, nothing's going to happen to me. Nothing's going to happen this time. You know what I mean? And that's not, and the devil will follow you everywhere you go.
Mm. So what do you think
So,
your lesson was? What was your lesson from all this? Because then I want to get back into your story, because I know you got way more to tell for after that. But what do you believe that your lesson was? Like, because I believe, this is just my opinion, but I believe that every situation we grow through, there's a reason why we're dealing with it. There's something we have to receive from it. So what do you believe that your lesson is?
my lesson on all that was to trust in God, put Him before anything, and um, just to keep moving forward and not want to give up. Uh, and just learn to think before you speak, think before you act, because every action has a consequence or a reaction to that, you know. And I was the one I was free willed. I didn't think about nothing before I did it. I didn't think about nothing before I said it. I didn't care. You know what I mean? So my lesson was, you got to stop and think. There's consequences to every action, good or bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I too had a question. You said now, being an addict, I find it curious. You said that pot was essentially your gateway drug. Um, do you feel that led you down a path? Do you feel that having maybe an addictive personality is part of it, and that was just the gate? I consider cigarettes and alcohol my biggest gateway drug.
Okay,
But
I
weed was
do.
soon after.
I do. I do consider that a gateway drug. Um, Now, back in my day, I'm 40. I'm 45 now. Just turned 45. Thank God I'm still alive. Nowadays, I think pot used the right way, marijuana, however you want to call it. I believe if it's used the right way, and if it's not used by people that use it as a drug, I
Mm-hmm.
believe it's good for cancer patients. It's good for anxiety. CBD is very wonderful. Um, so I wouldn't. It, that's a iffy question for me. I could say yes, and then I can say no to that. But in your sense, I do believe it depends on the addictive personality as well. My personality very addictive. If I do something that's 0 to 60, or it's nothing at all. You know what I mean? If I was going to do it, I was going to do it the best out of anybody with me. So that
I
addictive
feel.
person has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, moderation isn't a word in some people's, you maybe our vocabulary, and it does make things all very interesting. Even with coffee, I find myself I'm drinking Verner's this interview because I drink too much damn coffee, and that's not good for you, the caffeine. So I had to ask about that. It's very interesting.
Funny how we'll take one thing and replace it for something else. Because look, I'm a big coffee drinker too. I don't. I guess it's a caffeine, and that goes to the drug aspect. People don't think about it. Caffeine is a drug.
Mm-hmm.
Nicotine is the drug out there.
Widely
So
used, widely aimed at kids too. And it's a hard thing. Go
So
ahead, Kimberly.
I want to say that it's not about how you're raised, because you were raised from an upstanding family at 10 months old, that you don't know how your history was before that. So I mean, you're a product of how, where you were. It's the fact of that. Did you feel like you had to be rebellious? Did you feel that you knew better than them? Did you always know that they were your adopted parents?
Yes, I always knew. They never lied to me from day one. I knew my real mom and dad, loved them dearly. I was with both of them. Well, I was with my real mother when she passed away of cancer. My real dad got shot for his pain pills. They shot him and cut his pocket open to get his tie locks out of his pocket. So they were really good with me. They never lied to me about anything. And I was allowed to have a relationship with my birth parents under supervision, but I was allowed to until I got older.
So what do you think that caused you to do certain things?
So at 13, I ended up getting with my daughter's dad, and he was like 3 years older than me. Let's see, I was 13, he was 17. So he
Okay.
was already stuff, you know what I mean? he was already dibble dabbling in weed, pills, things like that. And at 13, you know, you think you're in love. You think you have to have this person. You think that, you know, and then it's cool because he's so much older. And my dad knew his mom real well. She was real respected in the community as well. Um, so when I was 14, I guess he was 18 at the time, his mom kicked him out. And my dad ends up letting him come and live with us. And I'm 14, only because my dad had a big heart. But he couldn't sleep in the bed with me. You know, I had to sleep in the bedroom, and he slept down in the basement. But you know what kids do when parents fall asleep.
Yeah,
So
I think 12, 13 is a good time to start talking about kids with some serious stuff. I base that on the fact that, you know, I had lost my virginity at 13 and it was to somebody else who was a 13-year-old. So a lot of us were starting to really look into drugs and sex and alcohol. And that's a very, very learning type of year for children, I believe. You know, and that's where you start really, it's
but you know
difficult.
what's messed up too is you got some family households that in my household you didn't talk about that stuff. Like
You did.
sex wasn't sex wasn't talked about. Condoms weren't talked about. Birth control for women wasn't talked about. That stuff was, you know, my parents were a little older. They were born in 42 and 43. So that stuff was just a thing of the, like, you didn't talk about those things. Like, you could mention the word pregnant in front of my dad, and his whole face would turn blood red, and it embarrassed him. You know what I
Were they
mean?
a lot older? Were they a lot older? Because usually it's an older
Yeah,
family.
like I
Okay.
mom or dad was born in 42. Mom was born in 43. So
Okay.
when I was 8, they were 40.
Okay.
So they were in mid 40s, you know, when I come of the age of 13 and started my rebellious ways and attitudes.
So let's say now you're 14 years old, messing with someone who's 18, and you are smoking, and are you going to school? Are you skipping school?
Going to
Are you
school.
you were still going to school? And then when did you decide to start doing heavier substance?
So around, I'm going to say, because I shot my first dope in my arm when I was 15. So I'm going to say the pot led to pain pills. Um, Percocet, Loratab. About that time, they didn't have OxyContin. You know, it hadn't been developed yet. So he would go out and buy pills, and we'd go in my bathroom and crush them up and snort them. And um,
There's certain things you can't say, so be careful. So when you start saying the C word and stuff like that, if you ever dabbled in that, skip over that. Just say something different because we'll get flagged.
okay. So yeah, I mean, I just started dibble dabbling in that, and then it escalated. And then my dad, that adopted me, was a Vietnam veteran, so of course he got his own pain medication. You know, well, I would take it. You know, not even caring about if my dad hurt or not. That's how addiction will do you. You know,
Mm.
um, my dad had a fake leg and a glass eye and thousands of pieces of metal in his body. He'd stepped on a landmine, and here I
Wow.
was going, daughter, and here I am taking the only thing that gives him real relief because he needs it. You know what I mean? Um, at 15, he started keeping his pain pills in his briefcase locked up and in his vehicle. And me and my boyfriend needed them, or we thought we needed them. So my boyfriend had broke into my dad's truck, and stole the briefcase that had a lot of sentimental stuff in it. It had his Purple Heart in it from the war. It had telegrams to his mom, which were irreplaceable. You know, those things you cannot get back. That briefcase was threw in a creek somewhere. I didn't know where it was at. They took it and threw it in a creek. You know, my dad went to his deathbed not knowing I had a part in that, because that would have just killed his soul. You know, I've done some really messed up things to get high.
Yeah,
So
that remorse that robs you of the addiction.
Hmm.
So you end up breaking into the car, getting that briefcase. What did you guys do with the briefcase after you broke into the briefcase?
Well, there was actually a few in it, and there was Dad's Purple Heart telegrams. I was in the house while this was going on to make sure nobody got up. Uh, so my boyfriend had taken off with it, taking it down the road, and they threw it in the river.
That's right.
Threw it in the river. So now there went my dad's Purple Heart. There went the telegrams that the military police had pulled up and um, gave his mom to tell him that her son had been wounded in war. You know, all that was gone then.
I genuinely feel bad about that, and it makes me think about all the shitty things. You know, I don't want to say shitty. We do screw up things, but things I did while I was active, and I feel really bad about a lot of stuff. But we can't take that back, and it's that progress that people really want to see from us. I mean, some heavy stuff, but
Yep.
we,
And
gosh, that's
think just
hard.
it weighed hard on me because this man adopted me, gave me his whole life, took me out of something terrible to try to put me into something good. Now look at me. Look how I was acting, you know.
So how was 16?
Um, so 16 is we started doing other things, and that's when the addiction was getting like full blown, like everything. And people say, "What do you do?" Anything you put in front of my face.
Mm.
What I mean, there was not one certain set drug that was my DOC. It was whatever could get me where I wanted to be, how I wanted to be, and I didn't care what I had to do it. You know.
So when you first went to prison for taking that deal for him, did you end up, is that, how, what happened to you the first time you went to prison? How long did you stay? And did he end up being your boyfriend when you got out of prison?
No. So we got charges on forging and uttering. There were 16 checks, and there were 2 charges on each check, and he had already been in trouble. So I knew that if they got him for this, he was going away for a long time. So they came to me. This is where, you know, the plea deal comes in. This is how they get you. And I was 17 when it happened, but they waited till I turned 18 to indict me. And so they were like, well, we can wrap all these charges into one, like one bundle, if you take the blame for it. You'll get 5 years in prison with 3 of those suspended. If you go to boot camp and diversion center after prison, we will only put you on a year of supervised probation. So me being so young, and I'd never been in trouble before, even after everything I had done, I still had never got arrested, never was juvenile, nothing like that. So here I am trying to be Captain Save-A-Ho and think I can save him by doing this. I saved him all right, but it screwed me up for life. Because at 18, when I came out at 19 or 20, I was almost 21. Here I am, a convicted felon with young children at home. And
And he was nowhere to be found.
oh, he was somewhere to be found. The time that I was gone, he had done got in trouble again, went back to jail. He ended up doing 13 years. I'm not sure exactly what all that was for, but yeah, he did something and went back for 13 years.
So then how did that ever change you when you got out? Being sober, because you're in there and you can't do things, or you do things.
No, there's probably more stuff in there than there is out on the street.
So you're still in there getting high.
No, I really didn't. I was scared because while I was there, I was on intense probation, and they could pull you and drug test you at any time that they wanted. And if you're dirty, then you're going back to county and you're going to get all that time that they just suspended from you. Believe you me, you're going to go pull it. So I was scared. I was scared to get high. I think I might have got high one time when I was in there. But I was scared to get high because I would be the very one that they would have came and drug tested. And then here I'm going back for the rest of my time that was suspended, which would have been probably at that time would have been 4.5 3 more years. I'd only been in there a little while, you know. So then after I get out of prison, and still not over, I still got to go to boot camp and diversion. So I leave that prison and go to boot camp. Now that right there was hard. That's something to teach you. A few of the girls listening, or that commented on our post, they were there in that boot camp with me. So that teaches you. That taught me a lot about respect. I mean, I already knew about respect because I grew up with a military dad. But you go to real boot camp, and they're going to teach you a little something.
So what was your iconic moment? Because when you got back out, you end up doing drugs again.
No, actually, when I got out of prison that time, I stayed clean for a couple years.
Okay. Did you change your friends?
Yeah, for a brief period, I did. You know, you have to do that to stay clean. For a brief period, I did. But then you start falling back into the realm of addiction, and then you start going around the same people that you were around, or you find new people, and it's a never-ending cycle. Say that, you know. So I stayed clean for a couple of years. Got pregnant again. I had my middle child. I married her dad, and I was clean for, I don't know. I got out at 21. I was clean till probably 25. So I was clean for about 4 years, and then started smoking pot again, and it went from that to other things, and got spiraled out of control. My son's dad, I left him when I don't know how old I was when I left him. I'm going to say 20, probably 26, 27. I ended up leaving my son's dad because here I am ready to get clean again. And I couldn't get away from it because that's all he wanted to do. So I ended up leaving him and getting clean. And that's when, after I got clean from that, that's when all this other trouble happened. That's when my dad had brought that needle to me, and you know, it broke my heart. And that's when I really got clean, because I was clean I don't know, a couple years when this attempted murder happened.
That was a couple of years you had clean when this happened. And they didn't take any of that into account when you were taken in. They just kind of assumed that you were an addict still. Or
and I had already weaned myself off Suboxone, so I wasn't even taking Suboxone. Like, I was teetotally clean.
that's not easy a task as well, as I've heard. Suboxone's hard. You know, you got to really stick with the program, and it takes a lot of steps.
Yeah, and some people never come off of it. They use that as a legal alternative to get high. That wasn't what I wanted. When I got on the program, they kept trying to taper me up and give me more and more. And I'm like, look, I'm not trying to do drugs. I'm trying to get off drugs.
Facts.
So I ended up tapering myself down. And the last day I went to see that doctor, I gave him half a bottle of pills and told him I didn't need them anymore. I was done.
Good for you.
That's beautiful. I've heard varied stories and success and failure stories, both on Suboxone and methadone, and they're a very hard thing to do. And I've heard people say they saved my life, and I've heard people say that they're just the depths of hell. And
me too.
It makes it. I know. I did a lot of things too. Alcohol was my main crutch, and of course, when I started doing alcohol, I would do any drug in front of me, and I more than 10 times, you know, did dog food. I got junk up, and now I couldn't do fucking needles. I could never do a needle. I'm terrified of them, and maybe that's helped save my life. But even the heroin was it paled in comparison to how much I actually wanted to be drunk all the time. I wouldn't stick with it. I didn't care. But I did take a Suboxone one night. My buddy gave me a half a sheet of Suboxone and said, "You want to try it?" I'm like, "Okay." I'll never do that again. I ain't never been so damn sick in my entire life off of half of it. My world turned upside down, and the projectile vomiting started. So it's not weak stuff. Okay, I'll be the testament to that.
And it's not for everybody, you know.
No.
And then, you know, and to me with that, excuse me, you got two certain types of people. Okay, because I believe in those programs. Don't get me wrong; they will help. They will get you on drugs, but it's the person that wants to use it as a crutch and keep feeling what they felt getting high because it gives you kind of the same feeling. And my pit bull trying to chew my clothes up over here. But there's two kinds of people. There's that person who will get on the program and use it the right way and let the doctor taper you up and then taper you back down. And then there's that person who, oh, and it gives me cold chills. There's that person who will get in there and just go up, higher, you know, keep their dose going up and up and up. And once they get to that max dose, it's like they don't come down. They don't go from the 80 milligram they're giving them and taper themselves back down. So, I mean, like you, there's a good point to it and there's a bad point to it. The program's good. It's in how the person uses it.
Right.
So after your dad came to you with the needle and said, "Look what I got," and you got to your knees, what did your mom say to you though? What was that story that your mom said to you? Because you said you weren't going to live past 30. And what did your mom say to you?
She would just say, "Girl, you know, I don't know what's wrong with you. We raised you right." It was a weird relationship. I was a daddy's girl full-heartedly. Me and my mom, we really didn't get along. We loved each other, but we didn't like each other. But I get it. I get why she didn't like me. I came in her simple life, and now she's got a rebellious kid that she adopted that is raising hell and taking stuff from her because my dad was an enabler. He loved me so much that he wasn't meaning to enable me, but that man gave me $380 a day for 3 years of my life.
Mm.
So I would lie. I need to pay this. I need to pay that. I need to do this. So me and my mom didn't have that real good of a relationship. She loved me, but she didn't like me. But she would tell me, "You got to stop. You're going to die. I know, Mom, I'm not going to." And I told her, "Mom, I'm not going to live past 30. I'm not going to live past 30. And
So
she said, "Well, if you're doing the stuff you're doing, you're going to be dead or in a ditch or end up in jail."
So she prayed to God. And what'd she say when she prayed to God?
She told God, or this is what she told me. She said, "I love my daughter." She said, and she's convinced she ain't going to make it past 30. And Mom said, "I pray to you that you do something. I don't care what you do. Let her live. Let her live." You know, at that time, I'd had all my kids. They were young, and Mom just prayed to the God, she said, to save me.
Now, who was raising your kids?
My parents.
And now,
And they didn't have to do that.
What's your relationship with your kids like? What was it like then, and what is it like now?
It was good then. I was a dancer for 12 years because their dads were deadbeats and it wasn't up to my parents to raise my kids. So I had a best friend take me into a gentleman club one night, and she's like, she had ran away from home and been dancing since she was 15, and she was like, "Melissa, you can do this." So my relationship with my kids was good, even though they knew what I did. They knew Mama had money to raise them, and I had money. It wasn't like I took their toys and sold it for dope or drugs, or, you know, I had the money to do it between me and my dad. And so they had anything they wanted. All they had to say was, "I want, I want, I want." And I'm not sure if that's good or if that was a crutch, because that's how I was growing up. My dad was military and had a college degree. I worked for the school systems. So, you know, I had a good life. All I had to do was say, "I want." Again, that's enabling them. Granted, my kids don't do drugs. Thank you, Lord Jesus. They are good kids. I'm really impressed with them. My youngest daughter works for the sheriff's department, going to school for forensics. My son's going to school to be a chemical engineer. Now, granted, my oldest daughter, she's just a stay-at-home mom. and she
There's no
smokes pot.
there's no just at a
No
stay-at-home
just,
mom.
yes.
There's no just at a stay-at-home mom. None. Raising
Stay at
babies
home
ain't easy.
does everything. My daughter is just wonderful.
Hmm.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm sure you've
I don't.
taught them a lot of lessons.
Yeah, I don't. Because I always didn't want them to follow in my footsteps, and I
And
can't imagine.
they probably saw that too. So they were just like, we don't want to be like her in that
Yeah,
aspect.
exactly right. And then that leads me to think, how in the world did my mom and dad put up with it?
Right.
I didn't have to experience it because my kids were good, but I can't imagine the way my mom and dad felt, and I can't imagine being a parent having to deal with that. Like, I much love to my mom and dad, and they never left my side from the time they got me at 10 months old until they passed away a couple years ago. They never left my side for nothing.
With your parents passing, you said they're passed away now. I'm assuming, I would hope y'all were on good terms at the end
Oh my!
of.
So that's a good thing. So my dad got sick in 2019, and when I left Texas, he called one night and said he was sick. I was on the next plane up out of Texas, and I was in Virginia by the next morning. So when I got to Virginia, Dad could see the difference. He knew he had a different daughter, and he made a Facebook post one day. Well, he looked at me one day and he said, "Who are you?" And I looked at him and I was just laughing. I didn't know if something sarcastic was fixing to come out of his mouth or what, because my dad was a comedian. He was funny. So he said, "No, this new woman that's at my house." He said, "This is the woman that I wanted to raise for
Uh-huh.
40." He said, "I'm so proud of you." He said, gave me a hug. He could actually leave his pain pills out on the counter and not have to worry about me touching them. So that made me feel good because I put that man through hell for 29 years of my life, or not, well, almost 20. You might as well say. So when he made that Facebook post about that, telling the whole world that he had his daughter back, he had his daughter that he wanted, that meant more to me than anything.
I'm
So
quite moved by this. It's really good.
there's so much beauty in so many things, and we don't see them at the time. And I want to say something to you that may not make no sense. But the reason that you're dead, and this is just my way of seeing things, so I see life differently. I see with a whole different. You can ask Henry. I see my perception is totally different than the average person of life. So with you losing that purple heart of his and all those things that he had, those that he held on to, those transcripts that they wrote his mom and stuff like that. You actually probably helped him release those because him holding on to those was constant reminder of it, even though his body was reminder of it. Seeing them also probably affected him, and he kept them because they meant something. But you losing those probably helped him heal
I
from that
agree.
in a weird way.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Oh
I
my
mean,
goodness.
we can look at things, and it's sad. It's sad that he didn't get to have that and stuff like that. But we can look at certain situations, still see the reason why it did happen, because everything does happen for a reason. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the prison situation and what happened, and then when we bring you back on Thursday, we're going to go more into detail, and then we're going to talk about the relationship that you're in now, and hopefully I can get him next week. So
I hope so too. I've been about it a lot because he has an amazing story as well.
yeah. So I want to talk to you more about the whole thing of you're in prison now or in jail now, and you're sitting in jail, and you've been in jail for 2 years now. You go to court and you tell them that you are not taking the plea deal. What did you tell them you're going to do?
I told him buckle up, get ready for the ride because we're taking it to trial. My lawyer even said we shouldn't do this. He said you're in a small town and they've got 2 attempted murder charges on you. And he said even though everybody knows you were in the back seat, he said they might found you guilty of being accessory. And he said, if they find you guilty of even being an accessory to that, he said that could carry at least 20 to life. And he said, 20 years right now is your life. I was 29. I would have been 49. I would still be in there right now. And that's even if they decided they were going to give me parole. I think in Virginia, I don't think they have parole. So if they would have gave me any more than 20 years, 25, I mean, my life was gone, So they couldn't believe. My dad knew what I was going to do. He said, fight it tooth and nail till you can't fight it. Because my dad was paying all these lawyer fees. I didn't have the money to pay it. I'm in jail. And we knew better than to get a public defender. I couldn't have a court-appointed attorney, not for those charges. I mean, I could have, but I probably would have got convicted at that point. So my dad knew from the get-go when I went in that courtroom that day that I was telling them not guilty and I wasn't taking no plea. That we were going to buckle up and we were going to ride this thing out so we couldn't ride it no more.
So you went to court and you told them that you are not taking a plea deal because you are innocent.
So at that point, they start filing motions. Prosecution does. My defense starts filing motions. They just keep putting this thing off and putting this thing off and putting this thing off. And I don't know if it was their way of punishing me more or if they knew they weren't going to get the conviction or I'm not sure, what happened. And then we had motions for me another bond, and my bond finally got down to $1 million, and then it finally got down to 500,000. And I knew I wasn't getting out, as far as on bond. So I don't even know why they kept doing that, but they just kept putting stuff off and putting stuff off, and kept talking about it on the news and slamming their names around everywhere. And so then it was funny. One day we got back from court, and the prison guard, who's her brother, her husband is the brother of one of the cops that got hit that day. She came and she apologized to me. Her name was Ellis. And she'd say, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. She was mad as hell at me. So she came one day and she's like, look, she said, I know the whole story and about everything that happened. And she said, I'm sorry I've treated you the way I have in here. She said, I didn't know you were in the back seat of that car. She said, I thought you were the one driving. And from that moment on, my life got a little better in jail. I mean, your life can't get good you're in there, but the prison guards can make it hard on you. So from that moment on, it was a little bit easier on me, and I could get a little more than I normally get or could get, So I got given a little bit of leniency, started getting to go to the gym. I started doing Taebo in there. I didn't like to go outside because I wanted to jump the fence every time I go out there, not because I wanted to run, just because I wanted a little freedom. I would have jumped back in, I promise. I just wanted to go to the store and grab a Mountain Dew or, a Snicker bar or something like that. But I quit going outside to the rec yard because like I said, I really wanted to jump that fence, go grab a Mountain Dew and come back.
So I have a question. The closer you get to when you're on trial and the closer that you're on trial, you're not taking a plea deal. You're fighting this all the way through. Did you see that your jail sentence became more relaxed and you were more able to have more leisure time and more everything further on down from the trial while the trial was going on?
No, because I still didn't know what was going to happen. It was still stressful every day, not knowing if I was going to have to live that for 20 more years, So it never got comfortable.
Okay.
Never. Not the first day. The last day was just as uncomfortable
as the first day.
Every day was it was as bad as the first day.
So what did their doctors say? What did their doctors say? The prosecutor's doctors.
So that's actually what saved me.
Okay.
Their doctors, the officers' doctors, said that there's no way those injuries were caused by the girls in that car, that all those injuries were over 8 years old. And they testified and in our trial on the stand for the prosecution.
Crazy.
And
So,
we didn't know they were going to do that. As far as our defense team as far as we knew, they were nailing us balls to the wall. We didn't know that either one of those doctors were going to get up there and say that.
wow.
We thought they'd get up there and just slam us, but they didn't. And the look on the prosecution's face when that happened was absolutely priceless.
So the jury comes back, and what is the verdict?
The verdict was not guilty on both charges of attempted murder on a law enforcement officer, but I was guilty on possession of the narcotics that the girl got that day. Even though I'm not the one that touched it and he put it in her hand, they got me for the pill, which was a placebo pill. It wasn't even a real pill. It was a water pill. and they got me. They tried to get me for attempt to possess, but the judge wouldn't let that ride. I'm sorry. They tried to get me for attempt to conspire to possess.
Okay.
So the judge looks at him and he's like, either you conspire or you don't. You cannot attempt to conspire. You either do or you don't.
Right.
So that charge had to get thrown out as well.
Now, may I ask, did your sobriety come into play at all during this?
Over
Did
when
they
all this
drug
happened.
test? I'm sorry.
No, I tried to get them to when they arrested me because, they were charging me with the pill from the get-go, like from the beginning. And I screamed it, take me to the hospital right now. We'll do a blood test. This girl's clean. I don't do drugs no more, and they kind of look at you and,
Yeah. They
wave
missed out
you
on
off.
some very important evidence to this situation, something that it bothers me because I believe you were served actual justice, from those doctors taking your side and people actually looking at these things and not just skewering you like an addict. But I also think you got screwed over on several things that are complete injustices. And I don't think we take people's sobriety into account as well as we should. And this should be
Yeah.
something that's examined much further. Because I believe
I
you.
agree. And in the court system, this is the one thing I don't agree. They say you're innocent till you're proven guilty. No. When the time they handed me those papers, I had to go fight for my innocence.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that I don't agree with about the court system, because that's not what it says in the amendment, black and white. It says innocent till proven guilty. That is a lie.
It's guilty until proven innocent.
Yes, because once they put those silver bracelets on you, you're guilty to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't ever feel innocent in Orange, in this
Never.
fucking shackle.
And that's why I made the title that, because it was ironic how that the system stands by that, but that's not the case ever. And we are
And then
unseen twisted truth, so we twist up the truth and we show the real justice and the real truth in it. We twist
And
up their truth.
I appreciate y'all for doing that. And hopefully all of our voices can be heard, because I don't agree with it. And do you know how many innocent people are sitting on death row right now?
There's a
Or
lot.
not even, but how many innocent people are sitting in prison, or how many innocent people are going to trial right now? I'm a big court TV watcher. You wouldn't think after all the stuff I've been through that I would, be a court TV fanatic. But my situation made me be a court TV fanatic.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that. So
I'd say,
would they end up?
go ahead.
What did they? So what were all the charges they were going to give you? I seen 4, and you said there was 2 more on the back page.
So they got me. They had me for we call it accessory to attempted murder. So they had me for attempted murder, accessory on both of those charges because I was with the girls. So they ended up not letting the accessory charge go because you can't have one, you can't have both.
Right.
You can't have a murder charge and then an accessory. You was either the murderer or you helped.
Yeah.
So really tried to throw a bunch of charges on me that just wouldn't, and the judge wouldn't let it happen.
So what do they end up charging the other girl with? They end up getting you with just having the pills.
So they got her with the vehicular. Hold on. Um, Unlawful wounding with a vehicle. Let's see, I forget how it was worded, but anyway, something about unlawful wounding of an officer with a motor vehicle. That's what it was.
So what was her term? How long she have to face?
She was gone for 5 years, I think, and then I think 10 years probation, something like that. But the funny part is, those two girls are right back into what got us into that mess to begin with. I just had a friend tell me the other day he saw the other girl that was in the passenger seat, and he was like, "Man, she didn't look good," you know. And I mean, I prayed for him. Like that girl was my friend all through school, me and her sister, and then me and her become friends. So I mean, I want to see her do good. I want to see her excel. I want to see her. I'm not where I want to be in life by no means, but but with me and Justin, we'll get there. It's going to be a long road for both of us, but we'll get there.
You may not be where you want to be, but you're where you need to be. I think you're a dope and amazing person. I think you have a great energy. I think that you're extremely funny. I love your outlook on certain things, and that you're not beating yourself up over poor choices. You actually learn from them lessons, and you're using them for the right tools. So, what is your plan that you want to make a difference in this world, that you could help somebody? What is your plan? What do you want to do besides just get this out?
I would love to maybe go to the schools, like he was saying, your target age to where stuff really starts happening, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, is like 13.
Okay.
Proof that everything doesn't go the way you think it will go. Yeah, I survived. I'm here. But if I could help one child just steer away from the mistakes that I made and let them know they are loved, they are worth it. And a lot of these kids think, oh, I'm just going to get a slap on the wrist, or my mom and dad will save me. Well, I thought that too.
Right, and they were nice
Dad,
people.
and
What you say, Andy?
I thought my mom and dad could save me from anything. I'm talking cops, the Lord. I thought those people could save me from absolutely anything. And some kids still think like that. Only you can save you.
So when we go on Thursday, and we come back on Thursday, we're going to have you back, and we're going to name the title of the show that your consequence or your actions isn't always your consequences, because sometimes your actions affect others. So we're going to name it Your Consequences, Others Action, or Your Actions, Others Consequences. So that's what we're going to name Thursday's show. Because I want to talk more about how your actions affected a lot of people around you. And I want to talk about how you are going to make a difference. And I want to see about getting you in a position to make a difference, because there's a reason why all this happened to you, and that you're standing and you're not doing drugs and you're not in trouble with the law and you're not beating yourself up over this.
I refuse. Look, they thought they had a hold on me once, and I refuse to let them have that hold and keep that hold on me. No, I won't allow it.
So we're going to talk about that on Thursday. I appreciate you coming on and telling us your story. Stay tuned, everybody, for Thursday's show. We're going to talk to her again, and we're going to talk about more in depth of being an addict and what it done and how it affected people, and how she now has to deal with things, because she don't remember things sometimes now. Sometimes she has a hard time with certain things. It's not just from the substance. It's from also being hit. But yet the substance didn't help that. So I'm sure you have a lot of other complications with your health because of being an addict.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk more into that. I want to talk about my T-shirt. I I am an ambassador for Fat Man's Customs, and this is the shirt. This is the shirt that was given to me today to represent Fat Man's Custom, and that this represents there's beauty in a lot of things, and even in death, it's not always ugly. So sometimes we got to look at life differently and try to see the beautiful in everything. And this material is super nice. It's super soft and silky, and it feels so good on my body. I love how this material feels. So if
But
anybody wanted, huh?
you'll have to shoot me the link. I like that. I like that shirt.
I will. I will. He actually does a bunch of different customs that you want. He does your own personal customs. It's not just his stuff. So it's your ideal. He'll bring your ideal to life onto clothes. So it's Fat Man's Customs. I will tag him in it. It's Ty Thompson who's in the comments. I'll send you his information, and I'll add you to his he has a personal thing, but his website, or not website, but his Facebook page is private because he doesn't want people coming spamming and stuff. But I will send you the invite to it, and then go join it, and he'll do a lot of things. I want to connect you with a couple people. I know a couple people that deal with the wrongly accused and whatnot. So I would like to try to hit you with a couple different people.
You know, my inbox is always open.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit you up though. I appreciate you coming on, and I want to talk more, and maybe try to have Justin come on next time, or I want to talk about his story a little bit, but I really want to keep his story for the following week. So, maybe just like wave his head. I don't know, just so he's not so shy the next time, because I really want to get him on here because I want to hear his story.
I'm sure he will.
Okay. But I appreciate you, and we're gonna leave with one. We're gonna leave. Everybody's gonna leave with an advice, and everybody's gonna say something before we go. And I always go with Henry first. So, Henry, what would you like to say before we dip out?
I didn't have enough time to ask you all the questions that I wanted to ask you. And that's fair because there's a lot of information going around. I will, however, say I feel this is not just an important podcast for the sick and suffering, or and it's so out of left field. You had a relatively good home life growing up, so even those suffering with trauma and whatnot, I think this is an incredibly empowering story for women too. And anyone going through things as a single mother, or dealing with these things, I think it's incredibly powerful. I wanted to ask you more, and you're probably going to talk about it next week about how maybe
Can
how
you write it
dancing.
down and I'll ask her? Can you write it down and I'll ask her? Because Henry is not going to be here on Thursday. He's going to dip in and dip out. Henry has a show on Thursday. Henry is also an artist, and I'm going to have him perform on our way out. So, but Henry is an artist, and Henry has a event on Thursday. So, Henry, if you could
I will.
actually, okay, and I will ask him for you.
Even if not that, he send them to my inbox. We're friends now, so any question that he has, he can send, and I'll answer it live on the show.
Okay. Long as you read that Henry wanted to know. Henry wanted to know. So we got to make sure that his name's out there, because if it wasn't for Henry, I wouldn't be on Scene Twisted Truth. He's been with me for 2 years strong. We're going on 3 years. That's my ride or die. That is my son. That is my everything. I love me some him. When I'm not me, I got Henry to be me. So that's my guy.
I love you, dear. I love the show. It's wonderful to meet you. I guess I'll close up with saying that I did have a lot to ask you. I will message you that, but I think this is really, really, really important for people to hear. And I don't that you've had me move during it. I will not lie.
Yeah.
It's been good.
So, Melissa, what do you want to leave with saying? And before we let Henry close us out, what do you want to leave with saying?
I have failed a lot of times. It's not about how many times you fall in life at all. You're going to fall even when you think you can't. It's about how many times you pick yourself back up and you leave that in the past and you keep moving forward. As long as you keep putting one foot in forward of the other one and not making the same mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
I will say this. If you make one mistake and you learn from it, it's one thing. But if you do that same mistake again, you meant to do it.
It's insanity.
So,
all right, Henry, pick up that guitar and show us what you can do.
Yeah,
and then Henry, where are you going to be on Thursday? Where are you going to be on Thursday?
I'm going to be at the Active Lounge on 10th Street in Port Huron.
And what time, Henry? What's the time?
I wasn't going to play, but you put me on the spot, so.
That's okay. I like hearing that new guitar. Well, not new, but revamped.
I did. I had a bunch of surgery done on her, and it's sounding good. And I guess I got a good song for us, so you ain't gonna wait for me.
Henry.
All right.
I'm gonna show you why I love this man right here. That ain't the only reason, but this is one of them.
This is called Tune.
La, 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 la.
Yeah, it's this shitty song I played before all my other ones. That should work. This is Reflection. I think it's applicable. I wrote this song because I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I wear my heart on my sleeve. It's like a straight jacket, a pulmonary punching bag hanging on my soul as you can hit. I met a man today. He sold me refined love. I took it home and mainlined it directly in my hypothalamus. And for the first time in my life, I truly feel like I'm alive. I miss the feeling emotion now. I'm not the same in the mirror when the drugs run out. 'Cause when I fall, it's so hard. I don't want to go back to the start. I need to go. I need to change. 'Cause it's something that I owe myself. It's something that I owe myself. I cloned myself last year. A perfect replica. With all the flaws dissected out like insecurity, pain, and fear. I made a huge mistake. I just can't look at it. I wrap my hands around its throat and squeeze until my fingertips connect. And for the first time in my life, I truly feel like I'm alive. I miss the feeling emotion now. I'm at this thing in the middle when the drugs run out. But when I fall, I always, it's so hard. I don't want to go back to the start. I need to go. I need to change, but it's something that I owe myself. It's something that I owe myself. Something that I owe myself.
Yay!
Wonderful.
There you go. That's dedicated to you.
Thank you. You're gonna have to link to that song if you can put it on any kind of platforms yet.
Not yet. We are trying. That's why Henry performs on my show, because Henry doesn't have hardly anything out there.
Well, he's good. I don't
He's
know why
about to be. So I also have a radio show called Twisted Radio, and then I have a entertainment company called Twisted Love Entertainment. I also have a couple of I just got to become a Rock Nation distributor. So I have a couple, and I also my husband, who's on here, is DDH, also has Empire Distribution. So Henry is actually going to be under our label, and we're going to get him heard.
That's what's up. I'm so glad I met your husband. He's an awesome, inspirational, motivated kind of guy.
He's amazing.
Y'all got some really, really, really good content, really good. Y'all got some really good advice going around.
Yeah, he's amazing. That's what I wanted to tell you before we wrap this up. I want to say people meet people in their lives for a reason, and each other need each other to grow. And I'm grateful that you have Justin, because you've been through some things, and I'm grateful he has you, because you've both been through some things. And I told you I speak to the universe, and the universe is telling me to tell you so much stuff, but I have to get permission first, and then we're not going to do that today. But I have to tell you so many things.
I thank God for Justin too. I tell him every day how amazing he is and what he means to me, and we'll make this work.
And you're beautiful, and I'm so grateful that you still love you properly.
Yeah.
So make smart choices, y'all. Remember, the justice system doesn't see you as innocent. They see you as another body that's guilty, regardless of what you did. And they're not there to help you. They're not there to protect you. And I don't care what, this is just satire anyways. At the end of the day, you got to protect you and help you, and realize that you are fighting for your freedom. Every time we're born, we're fighting for our freedom in one way or another. So may everybody's night be full. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Twisted Truths for having me. I look forward to coming back.
Yes, we'll see you on Thursday.
Yes.
I appreciate you. May everybody's night be full of positive energy and high vibrations, and stay on for a second. Ashe, everyone. Peace and love.